Heat gathered on the edge of the champagne flute long before Leah ever dared to look at her. A thin line of fog bloomed where Alexandra's breath touched the chilled glass, softening her reflection until it looked like a secret she couldn't bear to say out loud. Her thumb moved over the rim in slow circles, controlled, elegant, but trembling in a way she would never admit. Alexandra Morgan did not tremble. She did not want. She did not break. But the warmth clinging to that glass betrayed her. Before the moment could slip deeper under her skin, the narration paused, soft, inviting, like a whisper brushing the back of the neck. Before we dive into this emotional and intimate journey, take a moment to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing where our secret garden grows around the world. And then the story continued, as if the air itself had been holding its breath. Leah noticed the fog first. The way it blurred the edges of Alexandra's mouth. The way it revealed, with almost indecent honesty, that the perfect CEO was not as untouched as she pretended to be. Leah shouldn't be watching her, not like this, not with the heat spreading low in her stomach, but Alexandra drew the eye without meaning to. Or maybe she meant every second. The boardroom lights sharpened the line of Alexandra's jaw, the warmth of her skin under the soft gray of her tailored suit, the disciplined rise and fall of a body sculpted by early morning workouts. Everything about her was contained, restrained, as if the world only got to see the surface of her strength, not the fire beneath it. Leah's breath caught, quieter than a heartbeat. She was small, slender, deceptively delicate, yet her presence pulsed through the room like static after lightning. Her short hair framed her face in a way that made her look both rebellious and breakable, and the faint sheen on her lower lip kept catching Alexandra's gaze whenever she tried not to look. That tension, sharp, magnetic, had been simmering for weeks. But today, it turned molten. Because Alexandra lifted her eyes. And the moment their gazes collided, something inside both of them shifted. The space tightened. The air warmed. Time slowed around the edges like melting film. Leah tried to inhale quietly. She failed. Alexandra noticed. Her gaze lowered, momentarily, intentionally, to the pulse fluttering beneath Leah's collarbone. The movement was so small, so controlled, it could have been a mistake. It wasn't. Leah's knees pressed together. She swallowed, but the sound seemed too loud in the silence. She stepped toward the screen, reaching for her notes. Alexandra reached for the laser pointer at that same moment. Their hands stopped an inch apart. That inch burned. Leah felt the heat of Alexandra's skin radiating toward her, felt the magnetism pulling her closer, felt her breath grow shallow for reasons she would deny until the world ended. Alexandra's perfume, clean citrus under a thin line of restrained sweat, wrapped around her and made her spine curve slightly inward, chasing warmth she shouldn't want. Alexandra spoke. Continue. One word. A command softened into something dangerous. A caress disguised as professionalism. Leah's lungs forgot their purpose. She lifted her eyes, and Alexandra watched the movement like it mattered. Like it stirred something inside her she had been pushing down for far too long. Leah's chest rose with her next breath, and Alexandra's gaze flicked downward again, brief but unmistakable. The spark caught. Leah turned toward the screen, her hip brushing the edge of the table. Alexandra shifted slightly, barely a half step, but enough to bring her body closer, close enough that Leah felt the heat coming off her like a promise pressed beneath clothing. Their shoulders aligned for a fleeting moment. Leah's slender frame contrasted with Alexandra's toned, quietly powerful body. The juxtaposition made something electric travel up Alexandra's spine. Someone asked a question across the room. Neither woman reacted. Leah clicked to the next slide. Alexandra reached for a pen. Their fingers didn't touch. The universe held still anyway. Because their wrists brushed, barely, like a sigh. Warm skin against warm skin. A collision so soft it could have been imagined. It wasn't. Leah's breath hitched. Alexandra's jaw tightened. The room tilted. The air thickened. Heat licked along Leah's arm, and Alexandra's eyes darkened at the sight of her reaction. The boardroom disappeared behind a curtain of slow-burning desire. Leah forced herself to speak. Her voice trembled. The projections show a crack. A beautiful, dangerous crack. Alexandra felt it like a hand flat against her ribs. Her chest lifted, her breath faltering for the first time. The tremor she'd hidden earlier returned, subtle, running along her fingertips. Leah saw it. She wasn't supposed to, but she did. Her eyes lowered, slow, curious, toward Alexandra's hand. The CEO drew in a sharp breath. "Are you certain?" Alexandra asked, her voice too low, too warm, too close. It had nothing to do with projections. Leah felt herself flush, heat blooming under her skin, tightening low in her stomach. She looked up, she shouldn't have, and Alexandra's pupils widened at the contact. Power shifted. Gravity shifted. Something inside Alexandra leaned toward Leah without the permission of logic or experience. It was instinct, hunger, restraint all tangling together. Leah spoke softly. "Yes. I'm certain." The words vibrated between them. Alexandra inhaled. Leah felt the warmth of that breath across her cheek. The CEO's fingers brushed her suit jacket, smoothing a wrinkle near her chest, but her hand hovered too long over the line of her blouse, as if she could feel Leah's gaze tracing the hidden shape of her toned body beneath the fabric. Alexandra looked up. The room fell away. Her gaze dropped, slow, deliberate, to Leah's parted lips. It stayed longer than it should have. Heat punched through Leah's stomach. Her heart knocked against her ribs. Her knees weakened in a way she would deny for the rest of her life. Alexandra lifted her eyes again. Dark. Unsteady. Wanting. "Leah," she whispered. Her voice was a thread, silk pulled through flame. Leah stepped forward half an inch. Alexandra leaned in half an inch. Their breaths mingled. Their bodies aligned. Their lips hovered close, not touching, but close enough to burn. Close enough for Alexandra's pulse to quake under her skin. Close enough for Leah to feel every forbidden thought rising between them. And then Alexandra stopped, barely. One breath away from surrender. The room waited. The world waited. Their mouths waited. The hallway outside the boardroom was too narrow for two people who shouldn't want each other as much as they did. Leah stepped out first, still flushed from the presentation, still trying to steady the breath that Alexandra had disrupted with nothing more than eye contact. The air felt different out here, warmer, closer, humming with whatever they had almost done a moment ago. She pressed her back gently to the cool wall and exhaled, letting the tension bleed out of her shoulders. But then the soft click of the door behind her made her spine straighten. Alexandra emerged. The muted glow of the hallway lights brushed over her face and illuminated the line of her throat, the curve of her jaw, the strength in her posture. Her suit jacket shifted with her step, revealing the toned outline of her shoulders beneath the fabric. Her hair, normally perfect, had loosened slightly at the temples, as if desire itself had touched her first. She closed the door slowly, as though delaying the moment she'd have to face Leah again. But Leah was there, watching her. And Alexandra felt it immediately. She turned too fast, too aware, and found herself standing so close that Leah could feel the warmth radiating through her suit. Alexandra's breath hesitated at the sight of her, at the proximity they had accidentally engineered. Neither of them moved. They couldn't. "Walk with me," Alexandra said. Her voice was low, steady, but thin around the edges. Leah nodded, though her throat tightened at the sound. They moved down the corridor, their steps aligned, their arms almost brushing. Each time their strides fell in sync, their hips came dangerously close, close enough for Leah to feel the fabric of Alexandra's suit slide near her thigh, close enough for Alexandra to sense the heat rising from Leah's smaller frame. Every near touch was agony. Every inch of distance was worse. They reached the glass elevator, another tight space neither was ready for. Alexandra pressed the call button, and the soft chime echoed through the hallway like a heartbeat. Leah's eyes drifted, uninvited, to the CEO's hand hovering near the metal panel. Her fingers were elegant, steady, yet Leah remembered the faint shake from earlier. That tremor lingered in her mind like the ghost of a touch she hadn't yet felt. When the elevator doors slid open, the two women stepped inside, too close, too contained, sharing air, body heat, electricity. The doors closed behind them with a sigh that felt intimate. Leah leaned back against the glass wall. Alexandra remained in the center, but the space was small enough that their shoulders nearly touched when the elevator descended. The hum of the machinery vibrated softly beneath their feet, and the confined quiet made every breath sound louder. Alexandra inhaled slowly. Her scent, citrus, warm skin, faint sweat from hours earlier in the gym, filled the space between them. Leah felt it settle against her collarbone like heat. "What you said back there," Alexandra began. Leah tilted her head, waiting. The movement exposed a sliver of her neck, and Alexandra's eyes fell there instinctively. The moment she noticed herself staring, she looked away, but the damage was done. Leah saw the flicker. She felt it. "You challenge me in front of my entire senior team," Alexandra continued, her voice tighter now, "and you don't think that has consequences?" Leah stepped forward, small, barely a shift, but close enough that their shoulders brushed. "Then why didn't you fire me this morning?" she asked softly. Alexandra's breath stuttered. Leah heard it. Felt it like a spark against her skin. The elevator chimed and doors opened onto another floor filled with passing employees. Alexandra moved away quickly, too quickly, hands behind her back, posture perfectly controlled again. The interruption forced a sliver of distance that neither of them wanted. They walked out, passing through a narrow hallway lined with glass offices. Each time someone approached, Leah and Alexandra naturally stepped closer to each other to make space, hips brushing, shoulders touching, the scent of Alexandra's perfume brushing Leah's cheek. One of Alexandra's VPs called her name. She answered. But her eyes stayed on Leah. It was an obstacle, timing, responsibility, the weight of being watched. That tiny barrier only made the tension sharper. When the corridor emptied again, they reached Alexandra's office. She opened the door but didn't step aside, she didn't create distance. Instead, she remained in the doorway, forcing Leah to pass close, too close, her slender body brushing Alexandra's as she entered. A quiet sound escaped Alexandra. Not a gasp. More like a breath taken too late. Leah heard it. Her knees weakened. Alexandra walked in after her and shut the door with a slow, soft click that felt like sealing something dangerous inside. The office was dim, lit only by warm lamps and the fading city light bleeding through the windows. Shadows stretched across the hardwood floor, brushing over Leah's ankles like silk. Alexandra stepped around her, reaching for a file on the credenza. Leah turned. Alexandra, leaning forward slightly, blouse stretching over her back, the line of her waist dipping into the tailored fabric, was impossible not to look at. Leah's breath caught audibly. Alexandra straightened too quickly, holding the folder like a shield. Her eyes met Leah's. Heat flared. She walked toward her, file still in hand, but halfway there she hesitated, pausing just close enough that Leah felt her warmth through her clothes. "This isn't professional," Alexandra whispered. Leah stepped closer. "Then why did you call me in here?" Alexandra exhaled, slow and shaky. Her eyes dropped, not by accident, to Leah's lips. Leah's pulse fluttered. The room pulsed with it. Alexandra lifted a hand, hovering near Leah's hip but not touching, fingers trembling with restraint. Leah felt the warmth of it, the near contact, the unbearable almost. "Do you know what you do to me?" Alexandra asked, the words barely audible. Leah's breath shivered. "No," she whispered. "But I think you're about to show me." Alexandra's composure cracked. Her mouth parted. Her chest rose sharply. She leaned in, one breath, two, until Leah felt her exhale fan across her lips. Their faces hovered dangerously close, the near kiss pulling them into each other's gravity. Leah tilted upward. Alexandra bent forward. Their lips hovered a whisper apart. Heat surged. Breaths tangled. Leah trembled. Alexandra stopped. Barely. Her forehead touched Leah's, not a kiss, but something far more intimate. Their noses brushed, their lips separated only by the thinnest thread of restraint. Alexandra's voice broke on the next breath. "Not tonight." Leah's eyes fluttered closed. "Then when?" she whispered. Alexandra pulled back just enough to breathe, just enough to survive the moment. "Tomorrow," she murmured. "If you only knew what tomorrow will bring." The city had begun to dim when Alexandra left her office, but the tension she carried inside her burned brighter than any streetlight flickering outside the glass facade. She held the elevator door with one hand, waiting, though she didn't know why, until Leah appeared at the end of the hallway, gathering her things, small and slender in the low orange glow of evening. Their eyes met, and the elevator suddenly felt too empty without her. "Going down?" Alexandra asked. It was supposed to sound neutral. It didn't. Leah stepped inside. The doors slid shut, their reflections captured on three sides, Alexandra tall and composed, Leah delicate and magnetic, heat simmering in the space between them. The elevator hummed softly as it descended, the confined air growing warmer with every floor. Leah reached to press the button for the lobby. Alexandra reached at the same time. Their fingers brushed, barely, softly, but with an impact that made both of them inhale sharply. They pulled back half an inch, mirroring each other's hesitation. The first sign of consent. Leah tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Alexandra watched the movement, watched the slender line of her neck stretch, watched the soft rise of her chest with the next breath. Leah could feel the stare like warm fingertips tracing her skin. "This morning," Alexandra murmured, "you challenged me." Leah bit her lip, soft, involuntary. Alexandra's eyes flickered to her mouth, then back to her eyes, trying to hide the tremor that passed through her. "And you loved it," Leah whispered before she could stop herself. The air cracked between them. Alexandra took a step closer, not touching her, but near enough that Leah felt the heat radiating from her body through her tailored suit. Their reflections hovered side by side on the mirrored panels, but their real bodies stood inches apart. "Leah," Alexandra warned, though her voice sounded thinner now, fraying around the edges. Leah lifted her chin. "Tell me I'm wrong." Alexandra didn't. She couldn't. Instead, she exhaled, slow, shaky, and the breath brushed Leah's collarbone like a touch. Before Alexandra could respond, the elevator stopped abruptly on a random floor. The doors slid open to an empty hallway, cool air rushing in. Alexandra stepped forward as if to move, but Leah's hand caught her wrist, light, hesitant, barely there. Alexandra froze. Her breath hitched. Another act of mirrored consent. "We're not done," Leah whispered. Alexandra slowly turned back to face her. Their bodies moved in sync, drawn to each other like magnets set free. The doors closed again, trapping them in warm, rising tension. When the elevator finally reached the lobby, the lights flickered faintly, reflecting off Alexandra's eyes as she looked at Leah with something dangerous and unguarded. They stepped out together, walking through the lobby where the last few employees hurried past them. Every interruption forced them closer, brushing hips, brushing shoulders, pretending it was accidental when both knew it wasn't. Alexandra maintained her CEO posture, sharp and poised, but her breathing betrayed her. Leah's presence rattled her, stripped her of the armor she wore like a second skin. Outside, night air wrapped around them in a cool sweep, lifting Leah's hair, loosening Alexandra's control. The city noise had softened, the world subtly dimming, leaving space for something neither of them could outrun. Alexandra gestured toward her car waiting at the curb. "I'll drive you home." Leah raised an eyebrow. "And if I say no?" Alexandra stepped closer. The heat between them pulsed. "Then I'll walk you there myself." Her voice was low enough to count as a confession. Leah didn't answer. She didn't need to. She opened the passenger door, and Alexandra exhaled in silent relief. Inside the car, the closeness grew unbearable. Leah sat angled slightly toward her, knees brushing Alexandra's thigh every time the car turned. Alexandra's fingers tightened on the wheel each time contact happened. The soft interior light lowered the world to shadows and breath. Halfway through the drive, the car hit a small bump. Leah reached for the dashboard to steady herself, and Alexandra instinctively reached for her, warm fingers brushing Leah's waist through her shirt. They froze in that half-touch, half-grasp, suspended in heat. Alexandra's voice came out rough. "Are you okay?" Leah nodded, but she didn't move. Alexandra's hand hovered at her waist, warm and unsteady. Leah leaned into the touch, just slightly, her breath catching. Alexandra's fingers tightened before she could think. It was the most honest gesture she'd made all day. She pulled her hand back quickly afterward, but the tremble revealed everything she hid. When they arrived at Leah's apartment, the street was quiet, lit by a flickering street lamp that cast stripes of warm light across their faces. They stood close on the sidewalk, too close for colleagues, too close for strangers, too close for safety. Leah unlocked the front door, then glanced back. "You're coming up, right?" Alexandra hesitated. Responsibility, fear, the weight of crossing a line, all of it pressed against her lungs. But then Leah reached for her jacket. Just a small tug. A small invitation. Alexandra followed her inside. The apartment was small, dim, warm. A single lamp painted Leah's skin in gold. Alexandra removed her jacket, revealing the toned lines beneath her blouse. Leah watched the slow movement of fabric leaving her shoulders, almost hypnotized. She stepped closer, drawn as if by gravity. Alexandra didn't move. She waited. Leah reached up and brushed something from Alexandra's cheek, a faint fleck of dust from her suit jacket. Her fingers lingered too long. Alexandra's breath deepened as Leah traced a slow path down to the edge of her jaw. "Leah." Alexandra's voice broke softly. Leah leaned in. Alexandra matched the movement, mirrored consent again, until their foreheads touched, warm breath mingling. Alexandra lifted her hand and brushed a strand of hair behind Leah's ear, trembling. Her knuckles grazed Leah's cheek. Leah's eyes fluttered closed. Alexandra inhaled her, slowly, as if learning the shape of desire through scent alone. Their lips hovered close, too close. Alexandra's hand cupped the back of Leah's neck. Leah's fingers curled around Alexandra's waist, slipping beneath her blouse before either of them realized what they were doing. Their breaths collided. Their lips brushed by accident. Both froze. Then Alexandra whispered, broken and needy, Please. It wasn't permission. It was surrender. Their lips met. Soft at first, testing, trembling, then deeper, hotter, slow burning. Alexandra's hand slid along Leah's spine, drawing her closer. Leah rose onto her toes, pressing into the kiss with a hunger she didn't know she could feel. Alexandra tasted like heat and restraint breaking open. The kiss grew deeper, breath melting into breath, hands tightening, bodies aligning in a way that erased every rule they'd ever followed. Leah's fingers traveled to the curve of Alexandra's waist, pulling her down into the kiss, and Alexandra let her. When they finally broke apart, both were shaking. Leah pressed her forehead against Alexandra's. I want. Alexandra cut her off with a shuddering breath. If we keep going, she whispered, I won't stop. Leah exhaled softly, wanting her more for that honesty. Alexandra stepped back, fast, too fast, like she touched fire and remembered too late that it could burn. Leah watched her chest rise, watched fear and desire collide in her eyes. I shouldn't, Alexandra whispered. She reached for the door, slow, gentle, conflicted, and closed it behind her with a softness that hurt more than slamming it ever could. Leah stood alone, lips warm, body shaking, heart pounding with what almost happened, and what would inevitably happen next. Leah couldn't unlock her door fast enough. The moment it clicked shut behind her, she pressed her back against it and let the air finally leave her lungs in one trembling rush. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the kiss still lingering on her mouth, the heat still trapped beneath her ribs, the memory carving itself into her pulse. Her fingers drifted unconsciously to her lips. Warm. Still tingling. What Alexandra had done, what they had done, echoed inside her like soft thunder. Every few seconds she closed her eyes, only to feel Alexandra's breath ghosting across her cheek again, the slow heat of her mouth, the way her hand had slid along Leah's spine like she'd known exactly how to hold her. And the worst part, the most intoxicating part, was that Leah wanted it again. She wanted it with a hunger that scared her. Across the city, Alexandra sat in the back of her sedan, staring at her reflection in the dark window. Her breath fogged the glass, just like the champagne flute earlier. Except this fog wasn't from controlled breathing, it was from a breath she had taken too sharply when she walked away from Leah's apartment. She lifted a finger and traced the condensation absently, the same circular motion she'd made on the glass hours earlier. The symbol returned, hotter, deeper, heat meeting resistance, desire meeting denial. The fog blurred her reflection, her perfect CEO composure dissolving under the weight of a kiss she could not unfeel. Her driver asked something, she didn't answer. Her throat felt too tight. She closed her eyes, and Leah returned instantly. The warmth of her lips. The small, desperate sound she had made when Alexandra whispered please. The way her waist felt beneath Alexandra's trembling hand. The way Leah's breath had hitched the moment the kiss deepened. Alexandra gripped her knee to steady herself. Her hand shook. She hid it by turning her palm downward. Inside Leah's apartment, the air felt too warm, too small to contain her heartbeat. She paced once, twice, then pressed her palms to her kitchen counter. Her breath fogged its surface slightly, mimicking Alexandra's earlier fogged glass but messier, needier, uncontained. The symbol echoed, heat meeting surface, desire meeting something solid. She bowed her head and whispered to nobody. What are we doing? The answer came hours later, an unexpected knock on her door. Soft. Tentative. Like someone asking for forgiveness before confessing a sin. Leah froze. She knew that knock. She felt it in her spine before her brain registered it. She opened the door just 2 inches, enough to see Alexandra standing there, her blouse slightly wrinkled, her hair no longer perfect, her breathing uneven as if she'd walked the entire way instead of taking the car. Leah. Her voice broke on the name. Leah pulled the door open fully. Alexandra stepped inside, not out of confidence, but because the hallway suddenly felt too exposed for everything they were carrying. The moment the door shut, the tension wrapped around them like heat rising from the floor. "I shouldn't be here," Alexandra whispered. Leah took a step closer. "And yet you are." Alexandra swallowed, her eyes flicking to Leah's mouth with a hunger that contradicted every rule she lived by. Leah saw it, felt it, and stepped even closer until their bodies shared the same pocket of warm air. "Leah, Alexandra's voice trembled. "I'm trying to be responsible. I'm trying to think clearly, but I can't." "Then don't think," Leah breathed. The words pulled something raw from Alexandra's chest. She reached out, hesitant, trembling, and her hand hovered at Leah's waist. "Not touching. Not yet." Leah leaned into that hover, offering silent permission. Consent mirrored. Again. Alexandra's fingers brushed Leah's hip, barely their pressure through the thin fabric of her shirt. The warmth of that touch climbed Leah's spine in an instant. "I haven't been able to breathe since I left you," Alexandra confessed, soft, shaking, undone. "My hands won't stop," she exhaled sharply. "I can still feel you." Leah closed the remaining distance, so close that Alexandra's breath warmed the side of her face. "You can feel me now," Leah whispered. Alexandra's forehead dropped to hers automatically, their noses brushing, breaths tangling. The air between them thickened until every second felt like a heartbeat pressed against another. "We crossed a line," Alexandra murmured, voice thinned by desire. "And I'm terrified of how much I want to cross it again." Leah's fingers slid up, brushing the side of Alexandra's neck. The touch was soft, reverent, gentle enough to make Alexandra shiver visibly. "Then be terrified here," Leah whispered back. Alexandra inhaled through her mouth, her lips parting, close enough that Leah felt the warmth spread to her own. The moment felt like the brink of something that couldn't be undone. Her hand slid around Leah's waist fully now, pulling her closer, slow, deliberate, trembling with restraint. Leah's chest pressed softly into Alexandra's, breaths mixing, heartbeats stumbling over each other. "Tell me to stop," Alexandra managed. Leah shook her head. "I can't." Their lips hovered so close the air between them pulsed like heat rising from glass. Alexandra nearly gave in, her breath brushed Leah's mouth as she whispered, "God, Leah." Her voice cracked like she was breaking open. She leaned in that final inch. And stopped. Just stopped. Breathing hard, shaking, wanting more than she had ever allowed herself to want. The silence swelled, hot and suffocating. Leah whispered, "Kiss me again." Alexandra's lips trembled. Her eyes fell closed. Her hand tightened on Leah's waist, drawing her in as if her body had already chosen. But her mind fought back. "This will change everything," Alexandra murmured, her lips grazing Leah's cheek as she turned away just slightly, just enough to survive the moment without surrendering to it. Leah's breath caught. "So let it change." Alexandra stepped back, slow, aching, her hand slipping from Leah's waist like a confession sliding out of reach. Leah felt the loss of that touch like cold wind against warm skin. Alexandra took another step toward the door, but her eyes contradicted every inch she retreated, dark, hungry, filled with everything she wished she could say. "Leah," she whispered. Her voice trembled. Her mouth opened, wanting to speak, wanting to confess. But she swallowed it. She reached for the doorknob, hesitated, looked back one last time, long enough to let Leah see the desire, the fear, the ache. And then she said the softest rupture. "I want to stay, but I shouldn't." The door closed halfway. She paused in the frame, hanging between leaving and returning. Leah whispered, "Then come back tomorrow." Alexandra's breath hitched audibly. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. She closed the door gently, too gently, leaving the ache of everything unspoken quivering in the warm air behind her. Leah woke before the sun had even touched the buildings outside her window. She sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around her shoulders as the early morning light crept across the room. Her eyes were heavy from the night before, but it wasn't exhaustion keeping her quiet, it was the feeling still pulsing beneath her ribs, the warmth still lingering on her skin, the memory of Alexandra's lips still trembling against hers. She stood and approached the small mirror hanging near her door. When she lifted her hand to smooth her hair, she noticed it, her own faint fingertip imprint from when she had steadied herself there the night before, right after Alexandra walked away. The mark was small, almost invisible, but it carried the weight of everything she hadn't dared say. It was the symbol of a moment suspended between fear and want, of a truth she had been too afraid to chase. She touched it again, gently, and whispered, "Come back." Across the city, Alexandra was standing in front of her bathroom mirror, palms braced against the cool counter. Her reflection looked like a woman who had fought a battle and lost, hair slightly undone, eyes tired from too many hours spent sitting awake in the dark. But there was something softer about her this morning too. Something unguarded. On the glass, right where her fingertips had rested hours earlier, there were faint, blurred prints, warmth leaving its trace. She hadn't even realized she'd touched the mirror during the night, but now it stared back at her like proof she'd been trying to hold on to something she didn't know how to name. She traced those faded prints slowly, as if following a map back to the moment she almost stayed. And then she made her decision. Leah's apartment felt too quiet when she returned from a short walk through the early evening air. She left the lights low, letting dusk settle in soft blue tones. She wasn't expecting a knock. Not tonight. Not this soon. But then, a soft, hesitant knock, barely more than a breath. Her heart stumbled. She knew that knock. She opened the door. Alexandra stood there, framed by the hallway light, her coat open, her posture uncertain, her eyes carrying something fragile she had never allowed even her closest advisors to see. She looked like a woman standing at the edge of a choice, terrified and trembling but unwilling to walk away again. "Can I come in?" she asked, voice quiet enough to break something inside Leah. Leah stepped aside. Alexandra entered with slow, thoughtful steps, as if she were afraid the floor might collapse beneath her. When the door clicked shut, their eyes found each other in the dim glow of the room. "I didn't sleep," Alexandra whispered. Leah exhaled. "Me neither." Alexandra took a step closer. Then another. And another. Until Leah could feel her warmth, soft, human, unarmored, spreading across the inches between them. "I've been trying to figure out what last night meant," Alexandra said, her voice trembling ever so slightly. "Trying to convince myself it was a mistake, that I should have walked away sooner." "And?" Leah whispered. Alexandra swallowed. Her hands, usually steady, now shook. "And I can't do it. I can't undo what I felt. I can't pretend I don't want you. I tried." Her breath broke. "I failed." Leah stepped into her space fully now, hands gently brushing Alexandra's waist, slow, deliberate, warm through the thin fabric of her blouse. "You don't have to pretend." Alexandra's eyes softened. Her breath warmed the side of Leah's face as she whispered, "I'm scared." Leah lifted a hand to her cheek, thumb brushing the faint trace of rain still clinging to her skin. "So am I." Alexandra leaned forward, forehead touching Leah's, noses brushing, breath catching between their mouths. It wasn't a kiss yet, but it held the gravity of one. Their hands found each other's waists, fingers curling lightly, tracing outlines they had memorized from the night before. When Alexandra finally kissed her, it was slow, achingly slow, filled with every moment they had denied, every boundary they had tried and failed to hold. Her lips were warm, trembling, searching. Leah responded with equal tenderness, guiding her deeper into the kiss, feeling Alexandra melt under the weight of her own wanting. The kiss deepened gradually, breaths mingling, hands moving with silent permission. Alexandra's fingers slid along the line of Leah's spine, pulling her closer with a gentleness that felt like a confession. Leah's hands traced the curve of Alexandra's waist, the shape of someone disciplined, someone strong, someone now choosing softness. They pulled apart only when breathing grew necessary, foreheads still pressed together, their bodies refusing to separate. Alexandra whispered, "I want to stay this time." Leah smiled against her cheek. "Then stay." Alexandra let out a shaky exhale, something like relief, something like surrender. Leah guided her gently toward the small mirror near the door, the same one that had held her lonely fingerprint that morning. Alexandra looked at their reflection, two silhouettes close enough to blur into one. Leah lifted her hand and placed her fingertips on the glass again, leaving a new imprint beside the faded one. Then Alexandra did the same, her fingers aligning with Leah's, warmth meeting warmth through cool glass. Two marks. Side by side. Claimed. Once, that mirror had reflected fear and loneliness. Now it reflected a choice. Sometimes the bravest thing we ever do is let ourselves want what we've been taught to hide. If you were in her place, would you have chosen desire or fear? If this story touched your heart, share your truth in the comments. And if this journey stayed with you, please consider subscribing to Secret Garden Stories, leaving a comment, and sharing it with friends, forums, and social media. Your support helps this channel grow and build a world with more love and less prejudice. Tulip. Thank you for being here.